season Windrose, you already know it's got the bones of something truly special. But today we're not just talking about what is in the game, we're diving deep into what could be the future, the upgrades, the features that could turn Windrose into the ultimate pirate adventure. So grab your compass, ready your crew, and let's sail into the possibilities. First, let's talk about ship customization. Let's start with the heart of any pirate's journey, and that is your ship. Right now, ships are functional, but imagine a full customization system. I'm talking about swappable hulls, the effects, speed, durability, cargo, custom sails with colors, symbols, and even faction insignias. Deck layouts that can be modified, more cannons, more storage, or even crew quarters, giving you different perks as the ship evolves over time. Battle scars, visual upgrades, trophies from defeated enemies. Your ship wouldn't just be transportation, it would be your identity. Something that actually, progresses with you as you journey through Windrose. I also love to see new animals and sea creatures. If seas feel alive, but they could feel legendary. Future updates could introduce massive sea creatures, krakens, leviathans, even some sort of world boss. I want to see rare animals that you can hunt or even tame. Parrots, monkeys, maybe even exotic island beasts. And then I also want to see more predators. In certain regions, it will force you to adapt. We already have the wolves, the, sows, the boars, and I believe the crocodiles. And I know we have the infected version of the plague croc, but imagine seeing like jaguars, tigers, or even sharks in the game, Now let's talk about factions and politics. Right now, the factions are a great start, but we could go much deeper. Think about multiple competing factions with unique goals and territories. The reputation system would be amazing, especially since you can give the little coins that you get for sinking ships to gain reputation. But what about losing reputation? Doing certain quests might lose you reputation with the Buccaneers or the smugglers. Maybe even go to war with a faction and have them be hostile. Faction wars where players can actually influence it, that would be badass. And then reputation systems that actually change how the world treats you, Now imagine also having different factions like an India trading company, so you could actually be a pirate and just, sink merchant ships, and that affecting that reputation. Now let's expand on weapons and combat. The combat is fun, but let's take it to the next level. Future editions could include new weapon types, dual pistols, throwable explosives, different types of cannon ammo. Right now we have the chain shots, but what about like grappling hooks to pull the ship towards you? Or, maybe a little bit of a different boarding mechanic with deeper melee combat. It's good now, you can board an enemy ship, that's no issue. But, like in this section right here, I'm kind of far from the ship because I missed the turn. Imagine having some grappling hooks I can just shoot over that does low damage but pulls me towards that ship, And then we can also talk about treasure and exploration. What's a pirate game without legendary treasure? Let's imagine. Procedurally generated treasure maps with riddles and clues. We have already got some of that, with the notes and even the, Blackbeard maps. But, we're talking hidden vaults, ancient ruins guarded by traps, which we already have some dungeons with that. But we can, expand on that. Now, finding more rare artifacts that grant unique bonuses or even rare abilities. So you might even have to decide, do you want to sell an artifact? Do you want to keep it, Does it give you a ship bonus? Does it give you a melee bonus if you keep it in your inventory? Things like that, And not all treasures should just be gold. We've already got the silver and gold coins. Some could unlock new storylines, secret factions, or maybe even powerful upgrades, for anything in the game that's already implanted. Now, exploration should feel risky, but incredibly rewarding. I would like to expand also on crew management and workers. Your crew shouldn't just be background characters, they should matter. Future systems could include hiring specialized workers. And I'm not talking about just like the workbench workers, but we're talking about navigators, engineers, medics. What about crew morale? The affects performance in battle. Unique crew members with backstories and abilities. And we already have that, it says that they're going to expand on that with some quests per one of your crewmates. I believe it's Mortar Joe. But I could be wrong, so we'll find out. Now imagine also being able to lose crew members, and imagine losing them in battle. It would actually hurt, grinding for a certain member and then having them fall in combat. That would be badass. But we can also expand on the quest and story. You know, we need branching quest lines with meaningful choices, long-form story arcs involving factions, betrayals, hidden secrets, dynamic world events, storms, invasions, treasure rushes. You know, imagine having a super low reputation with the Buccaneers and suddenly they're raiding one of your bases. So you have to sail back or fast travel back and defend your base from a Buccaneer attack or a pirate attack or even a plague attack, you know. 7 Days to Die did it pretty well. You know, every 7 days you get attacked. Now imagine using a reputation system on that. So we already have different types of creatures. Now imagine if it had a bit more, you know, dynamic gameplay of that. The plague monsters just attacking your base, or the drowned just start coming out of the ocean. Or what about even drowned ships, you know? We can have those, the ghost ships, drowned ships, similar to like Sea of Thieves, you know. We can have so much more variety that isn't really here yet. Now, don't get me wrong, the game is early access, but for what it is, it's an amazing game. It's an amazing experience, and I just can't wait to see what they do with it. You know what I mean? At its core, Windrose already has something special, but with the right updates, it could become one of the most immersive pirate experiences out there. The question is, what would you want to see added? More ships? Bigger monsters, deeper story? Drop some ideas in the comments. I want to hear them. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the high seas. Until then, fair winds, Captain.